Tennessee earned the commitment from one of the best players in the country over the weekend for the class of 2026. And Tennessee gets another commit for the class of 2026. Tennessee recruiting, it just never stops. That and so much more. It's a big show coming up today here on a Tuesday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Tuesday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols. I'm your host, Eric Kane. So glad that you guys joined me here today to make Locked On Vols your first listen here today. Can't thank you enough for that. Got a big show coming up today. Again, Carson Sneed. Carson Sneed, a four-star tight end for the class of 2026. An in-state prospect, commits to the University of Tennessee. We'll tell you all about his game and what you can look forward to in Carson Sneed when he makes it on campus here in segment number 1. 10-2 or 8-4, which is more likely? Plus the coaches' rankings, the coaches' poll. Where does Tennessee rank in the coaches' poll? That's coming up in segment 2. And then we'll get into your mailbag questions for you everydayers in segment number 3. You can watch us, listen to us, subscribe to us, all that for free, wherever you get your podcasts, of course, on the Locked On Vols YouTube channel. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. And a big shout out to FanDuel for making this show possible. Go to FanDuel.com to make every moment more. Again, that's over at FanDuel.com. Okay, so you're looking at Carson Sneed, who committed to the University of Tennessee over the weekend. Or actually, it was late on a Monday night. It was Faizon Brandon that committed to Tennessee over the weekend, and the Volunteers now are off and running in terms of recruiting for the class of 2026. Carson Sneed, who's been coveted by Tennessee for quite some time. Tennessee's been in on this one for quite some time. He's camped at the University of Tennessee a couple different times and come on unofficial visits. It's always been Tennessee for Carson Sneed. It was just a matter of when he wanted to pull the trigger, right? In-state prospect from Nashville, Tennessee, where he played at DCA. Okay, 6'6", 215. I think he's close to about 230 pounds right now. But the On3 industry ranking has him as a 4-star, the prospect number 174 in the country, the 9th ranked tight end, the 4th prospect from the state of Tennessee. On3 specifically has Carson Sneed as prospect number 175, the 9th ranked tight end, and the 8th player from the state of Tennessee. ESPN has him ranked at 199, and Rivals.com has him at 75th in the country. Again, still very early on in the recruiting cycle for Carson Sneed and these 2026s, so these rankings will change a lot. 247 actually doesn't have him in the top 247 or whatever, so those will change likely in favor of Carson Sneed. But another early commit for this class, joining Faizon Brandon, the number 1 overall player according to 247 Sports, the number 1 quarterback, and the number 10 player in the country according to On3. And this class of 2026 is well on its way. So what is Tennessee getting in Carson Sneed? I think Tennessee's getting a really, really nice player in Carson Sneed, and 6'6", about 200 and close to 30 pounds. He's got a lot of room to grow. But also, if you're looking here on the YouTube channel, you're seeing his huddle tape, and he's a guy that has some versatility to his game for sure. He does a good job of climbing the routes to help his quarterback on a broken play. He's long. He can run all the routes. He can play at or around the line of scrimmage, but also he can get out wide in the slot or, close to as the end man on the line of scrimmage out there. He's done a really, really good job with the drag routes, but if you're watching right now, you can see, coming all the way across the field, but making a key block to spring a receiver going, for 6 right there. There's just a lot to like about his game, and again, he's got so much more room to grow. I watched his tape on Huddle, and I'm kind of sitting here thinking like, well, he's the guy that looks almost like a baby deer. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean, he is going to get so much better. He is going to get so much quicker. He is going to get more refined in terms of the finesse in his game. And honestly, he was more finesse early on in his career. Again, just entering his junior season, so still so much more to go. The physicality has grown in the last, year or two. Obviously, in the high school realm, if you're 6'6", about 230, you're the biggest guy on the field, okay? So he embraces the physicality. He blocks the defensive ends. He climbs up and gets to the second level with the linebacker. When he has the football in his hands, he does a great job of getting north and south, but he'll seek out contact. and he's not afraid to have a safety come over and hit him across the middle. I love that about his game, and as he continues to put on more weight to get to where you need to be in this system at like 250-ish, right, and still being able to move, he's only going to be able to take more hits and take more blows. I do think that his speed will be something that he needs to work on. I think he'll need to be a little bit quicker to be an effective pass catcher in this offense. But again, guys, he is just entering his junior season, so he's got so much more time to grow and develop even before he steps foot on campus. But this is the type of body that you're looking at saying, okay, well, here's Josh Heupel's program. You didn't look like an SEC program a couple years ago. Now you do, and it's because you're looking, you're spotting, you're evaluating, you're recruiting, and then ultimately signing talent like a Carson Sneed that already looks like a big dude coming out of high school, or still, 2 years left in his high school career. So again, about 6'5", 230 right now. They're going to try to get him up to around 245, 250 to play in this offense. But this is a really, really nice get for Tennessee. And Alec Ablin, again, you look at this tight end room, and for so long it was Jacob Warren, and you didn't really know. And then Jacob Warren says, hey, I'm going to come back for a 6th year. And then you go out and get McCallum Castle. It's like, okay, well, that's great. We still don't have anybody behind you for the future. You got Ethan Davis, but he's not ready to help right now. Now, heading into fall camp, or, taking part in fall camp, you got Ethan Davis. You bring in Holden Stays from Notre Dame. You got Miles Kitselman, and all three of those guys are going to play a role in this offense for Tennessee this year. You look behind you, you got Cole Harrison, who's coming in. He's been here, over the summer, and he's growing and developing and learning. You're bringing in Jack Van Dorselaer. You're bringing in Desan Brame. And you got guys like this lined up for the class of 2026 and Carson Sneed. This room that looked like a weakness for some time, give credit where credit's due to Alec Ablin, man. This room looks good, and it looks good for years to come. So hat tip to Alec Ablin and what he's been able to accomplish. Tennessee gets the commit from Carson Sneed, who jumps in the boat. Last night, it was Hayes Fawcett over at On3 that tweeted out and made the announcement public, as Carson Sneed joins Faizon Brandon as commits for the University of Tennessee for the class of 2026 already. Tennessee's class of 2025 waiting on some highly touted players like David Sanders, Onis Cannonbody. Those are, and of course there'll be some fall evals, but Tennessee's a top 10 class right now, top 5 in the SEC. And if you add David Sanders, if David Sanders jumps in that boat, the 5-star offensive tackle, I think I have to go look. I don't have his profile. I think he's like the number 2 player in the country. You are solidified top 10 and probably a top 5 team if you get David Sanders, because it is that type of quality body that really moves the needle in terms of recruiting. So Tennessee recruiting just continues to be really, really good right now. Can't say enough about that. Hey, when we come back, let's talk about this year's team. Where's Tennessee ranked in the coaches poll entering the new season? And is 10-2 or 8-4 more realistic for Josh Heupel's club in 2024? That's coming up next as we continue on here with a Monday edition of Lockdown Vols. Stay tuned. I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. It's the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball, which is happening right now, and it's a place where you can make every moment more. That is a FanDuel Sportsbook. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop, but the playoffs, Stanley Cup Finals, and the NBA Finals, they're over with. You get fewer and fewer games right now until football gets back in store. Sports, they're not sportsing like I want them to, but over at FanDuel on the safe, secure, easy-to-use app, I can dream up any bet I want when I'm in the mood, and I do that over at FanDuel Sportsbook. And right now, all customers, not just new customers or existing customers, every single customer right now over the summer month of August gets a boost or a bonus daily. That is a boost or a bonus daily over at FanDuel on that app. So head on over to FanDuel.com or download and use that safe, secure, easy-to-use app. Make the most out of August, okay? Summer's flying on by. Make the most out of August. FanDuel, it's the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. FanDuel, it's where you can make every moment more over at FanDuel.com. The USA Today College Football Coaches Poll has come out, and the University of Tennessee finds itself ranked 15 in the preseason coaches poll. All right, so you're entering week 2 of fall camp right now, okay? The AP poll, the preseason AP poll, will come out next week, and honestly, that's the poll that I pay attention to. I'm in the media. I don't vote on the poll. I talk crap about the rankings all the time because, well, if you're not a part of it, let's just sit back and critique it, right? I know how hard a lot of media members work, but also I know how hard people work on the beat. And my personal opinion is, if you cover a team on the beat, you should not get a vote in those type of polls because you don't get to watch enough football. You simply don't. My point is, I know a lot of media members get the wrong end of the stick sometimes. I know a lot of media members ask for some embarrassing, tweets and critiques and all that. But that is the poll that I kind of pay attention to because, quite frankly, the coaches poll, hardly any coaches vote on it. It's SIDs. And SIDs are going to vote for their team severely higher than where they should be, significantly higher than where they should be. So I think there's a little bit more validity in the AP poll. And then I think that there's more validity in the college football playoff rankings for the most part. We can obviously disagree on, what's going on, but that is a committee that is devoting a large portion of their lives to try to get it right. And yes, sometimes they get it right, sometimes they don't. We can have that conversation another day. And they're going to have even more to discuss here with the 12-team college football playoff this year, the first of its kind. But it is something to talk about. It's something to discuss and say, is it too high, too low, just about right? Tennessee, number 15 in the preseason coaches poll. Georgia's at number 1. Ohio State, Oregon, Texas, and Alabama. That is the top 5. Ole Miss comes in at number 6. That's ahead of Notre Dame, Michigan, Penn State, and Florida State. 4 teams on Tennessee's 2024 schedule that were ranked inside the top 25 here. Number 1, Georgia, obviously. Number 4, Alabama. The Vols also played number 16, Oklahoma. Number 22, NC State. 9 SEC teams total were ranked. Number 1, Georgia. Number 4, Texas. Number 5, Alabama. Number 6, Ole Miss. Number 11 is Missouri. Number 12 is LSU. Number 15 is Tennessee. Number 16 is Oklahoma. Number 20 is Texas A&M. So 9 of the 16 teams in the Southeastern Conference were ranked in this preseason poll. I think Tennessee should be ranked higher than LSU for sure, both in the SEC preseason predicted order of finishes, but also in any type of poll that's out there. I do not know why LSU is ranked higher than Tennessee. I don't get it. You lost a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. You lost a first-round wide receiver. I know you're stacked on the offensive line. I know you got some playmakers. I know you have got confidence in Garrett Nussmeier. I know you got a day 1 draft pick in Harold Perkins at linebacker, but your defense sucks. I don't get the LSU hype this offseason. I just don't. But that's a conversation for another day. So, Tennessee comes in at number 15 of the coaches poll. Is that too high? Is that too low? Clemson comes in just in front of Tennessee at number 14. I do not think that is correct. I think Tennessee is better than Clemson. Clemson finished, I think, 9-4 overall last year. So did Tennessee, 9-4, but one is the SEC and the other is the ACC. So, again, I'm not sure about that. Oklahoma checks in just right behind Tennessee, and, of course, those two teams square off in Week 4. And as I mentioned earlier, NC State is at number 22. That is Tennessee's Week 2 opponent. So, again, who cares? It's preseason. This stuff's going to play itself out. Don't you worry. But I think Tennessee is, I think Tennessee should be ranked higher than Clemson. I think Tennessee should be ranked higher than LSU at 12. So, I think Tennessee should be around 13. But, top 15, not a whole lot of things to be upset about when the games haven't even been played yet. That is my opinion. Okay, so on that note, 10-2 or 8-4, which one is more likely for the University of Tennessee? I joined Spencer McLaughlin on Locked On College Football today. I believe it comes out today. And we kind of go through and we talk about the schedule, and he predicts Tennessee to be either 9-3 or 8-4. He's got a toss-up game for NC State there in Week 2. My simple response to that was, I don't know if you've seen it already, but when he got done talking, I said, I think Tennessee beats NC State by double scores, by double digits, by 2 touchdowns, or double digits at least, probably 2 touchdowns. And I'm not trying to diminish NC State. I know they got significantly better at quarterback with Grayson McCall. I know they finished last season strong. I know they won the transfer portal. But I think Tennessee's roster is just much better than NC State's right now. And a lot of times earlier in the seasons, especially with new quarterbacks, and I know Nico's technically new, but he's been in the system. He's gotten some playing time. He started and all that. He's gone through 4 different camps by that point. Camps, spring practice and fall camps. I think Nico's got a better understanding and is significantly further along than what Grayson McCall would be for NC State that early in the season. But he has that as a toss-up game. He has Tennessee either being 9-3 or 8-4. I have Tennessee being either, and I made this comment, it's what made me think about it. I was like, I am much closer to 10-2 for Tennessee than I am 8-4. The safe bet's 9-3, and when I do my official prediction for the season closer to week 1, 9-3 is going to be a popular pick for me because Tennessee will stumble somewhere, or at least history's shown us that Tennessee will stumble somewhere. Even in an amazing season that was 2022, Tennessee stumbled on the road and got its arse kicked against South Carolina, which Tennessee was a significantly better football team than that. Someone jumped in the comments, this is well earlier in the offseason, way months and months ago, saying that whenever I talk about the South Carolina game, I smile. So I'm low-key hating on Tennessee and low-key a South Carolina fan. The YouTube comments are hilarious, by the way, a lot of the times. Appreciate you guys watching. The internet's a funny place. I'm not laughing or anything. It's just it's facts. And if you can be the biggest Tennessee fan in the world, and that's fine, you can still acknowledge that South Carolina beat the crap out of Tennessee in 2022 because it literally happened. Shouldn't have happened. Tennessee was that much better. Can't blame that game on Hendon Hooker because Tennessee was losing by 30 points when Hendon Hooker went down in the second half. It was just a really bad night. Really bad night. My point is, though, Tennessee history shown us that Tennessee always stumbles and loses a game that it shouldn't. 2022, even with the amazing year that it was that South Carolina loss. So what game on the schedule will Tennessee stumble? Will it be Florida? I don't want to say you're stumbling and losing a game like Alabama, but potentially you can be favored at home for the third Saturday in October and lose that game. I think it all comes down to the Oklahoma game. It's the tone setter of this football team, and we've mentioned this, and we've talked about this on this show several times. NC State, I don't think it's going to be a gimme whatsoever. I think it's a talented baseball team. I think it's a talented football team. I think it got better. I think Tennessee's floor is much higher than that of NC State's, and I think Tennessee's going to win that game. Oklahoma, the first true road game of the season for Tennessee. It is going to be the first true road start for Nico Iamaleava. It's going to be the biggest game in Oklahoma regular season history in quite some time. You got the national media and all the narratives out there about Josh Heupel going home, Josh Heupel versus Bob Toots, so on and so forth, Stoops, so on and so forth. There's a lot of extracurriculars for that team, that game. But when it comes down to it, I think it's Oklahoma's makeshift brand new offensive line against Tennessee's Rodney Gardner-tested 13 rotational man deep defensive line. And I think Tennessee whoops that tail. I do. But my point is that Oklahoma game is so very important. It is the most important game on the schedule right now, in my opinion. You win that game, you afford yourself another loss along the way and still be on the playoff picture looking in. I think Tennessee could be favored to beat Alabama at home. Tennessee better be favored to beat Florida at home. I think Tennessee will be favored to beat Arkansas on the road. I think Oklahoma will be favored. At home in that football game. Of course, Tennessee will be favored against Chattanooga, Kent State, and UTEP, those non-conference games outside of NC State, which I think Tennessee will be favored in that game at a neutral site against NC State. I think Tennessee will be favored against Kentucky at home. I think Tennessee will be favored against Mississippi State at home. Tennessee will not be favored on the road against Georgia. Tennessee will be favored on the road against Vanderbilt. So technically, I think Tennessee will be favored in all but 2 games this year. On the road at Oklahoma and on the road at Georgia. Tennessee will be favored to win every other game that season. So I think technically, and just because you're favored doesn't mean you're going to win the game, but sitting here right now on August the 6th, I think Tennessee loses at Georgia right now. Prove me wrong. Let's go out there and let's see how this team plays. Let's see how Nico is. And let's get crazy and dicey and pick Tennessee to win in Athens. But it's up to this team to prove that it can throughout the course of the season up to that point, right? But here on August the 6th, no shame. No shame. It might hurt, but there's no shame in saying Tennessee's going to lose to Georgia on the road. But I think Tennessee can win all these other games. But history says that Tennessee probably won't. So which games are those? My point is I can make a case that Tennessee wins all these games. I cannot sit here and think Tennessee is going to lose 4 games. Sure, Tennessee can lose on the road to Oklahoma. Tennessee can lose at home to Alabama. Tennessee can lose on the road to Georgia. That's 3. You're telling me Tennessee's either going to lose NC State or Florida or Kentucky, and you can say that with some confidence? Because I can't. If Tennessee maybe stumbles and loses to Florida, don't you think the same team can rally and win at home the next week against Alabama in a huge rivalry game? I don't know. I am just so much significantly closer to 10 wins than I am 8 wins in the regular season, and it is not even close. If you're 10-2, okay, and you got wins on the road at Oklahoma, you got to win against Alabama at home, whatever the case is, you're 10-2, you're probably in the college football playoff. You're 9-3, you're on the borderline there at 13, 14, 15, okay? But you got to remember you got some qualifiers, some automatic bids that got to get in the college football playoff. Got to take a G5, got to take a group of 5, right? Got to do that. Got to, where's Notre Dame? Where's Notre Dame in this whole mess? I don't know. You want to be 10-2 to feel really, really good about getting in the college football playoff. But of course, if you're 9-3, you're in the conversation. But I think Tennessee is very much closer to 10 wins than 8 wins. What say you? @_Caner and @LockedOnVols. Hey, when we come back, we'll get into your mailbag questions right here, you everydayers. You send them in, we'll answer them in segment number 3. That's coming up next. We continue on here with a Tuesday Locked On Vols. Passion, drive, patience, the formula for winning championships. It's what also keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicles, leveled up to peak performance, superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money is back. Because of the eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive today at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. All right, welcome back into Locked On Vols. Thanks so much for making it your first listen. Check out Spencer McLaughlin on Locked On College Football here today. I actually joined that show. You can catch my hit in one of those segments talking about Tennessee's win-loss prediction. But make that your second listen today, right after Locked On Vols, which I'm always happy and appreciative that it's your first listen and your first watch each and every day. Let's get into your question, and everydayer, and has been for quite some time. Bruce says, hopefully I'm not too late. He sent this last week, and I think I'd already been recorded at that time. But it's a question: if Tennessee is 6th or 7th in the SEC, how is it possible for Tennessee to be considered a playoff contender? Well, that's simple. I think every team in the SEC from, Georgia and Texas are in a league of their own. I think Alabama, Ole Miss, LSU, Missouri, Tennessee, and Oklahoma are all kind of jumbled up in there. I would have Alabama and Ole Miss a little higher, but I think LSU, Missouri, Tennessee, Oklahoma are just right there. So depending on how you view that order, obviously, Tennessee was voted to finish 7th in the Southeastern Conference, one spot ahead of Oklahoma, but behind LSU and Missouri there in 5-6. See, I think Tennessee is better than LSU. So I think Tennessee would at least be 6th in the SEC. It's all about the value of the beholder, right? Those Alabamas all the way down to Oklahoma with the LSU, Tennessee, Missouris in between, they're not all going to get in the playoff. But, in my opinion, at least 2 of them will. So which teams will that be? Will it be Alabama, Ole Miss? Or will it be maybe Alabama, Tennessee? Or would it be Ole Miss, Missouri? I don't know. But you've got about half of the SEC. Oklahoma at number 8 is that cutoff that I think truly are in the conversation for the college football playoff. Of course, the SEC is not going to get 8 teams in, but the SEC should get 4 in. How does the new 105 rule change affect Tennessee and the scholarship limitations? Well, first and foremost, it's not in a rule change yet. It would be for next year if this is officially passed, which it looks like it's going to be, meaning 105 scholarships. However, that is the cutoff. That means you cannot have any more, people on your roster, walk-ons included. Tennessee would still have to forfeits, scholarships for that, whatever it is. I don't have it written down in front of me. I think it's like 2 a year for the next couple of years. So essentially Tennessee would be playing with 103 instead of 105. Just because you get more you still have to surrender a couple a year in order to pay back from those penalties. So it would be at 103 to my knowledge. So, Bruce, I appreciate you there. Let's go into Braden. Braden says, from top to bottom roster standpoint, is this year's team better than 2022 in your opinion? So it's hard to answer that question because we saw 2022 season and the players and the heroes with our own eyes. We have fond memories. We saw it already play out. Let me rephrase that question. Going into 2022, which team looked better? And I would say it's this team right now, 2024, by a country mile. More depth, more weapons on defense in the front seven for sure. Better offensive line. Overall, better offensive line, even though you had Darnell Wright. More weapons. Way more weapons. You had better run game in 2022. You had a better quarterback. I say that because we need to see what Nico is consistently, right? I think Nico's got the higher ceiling, no doubt. But at that time, entering 2022, you knew Hendon was really, really good. But entering fall camp of 2022 compared to entering fall camp of 2024, no contest. This year's team, 2024, significantly. Braden goes on to say, scenario. It's the final drive against one of our big three rivals, Georgia, Bama, or Florida. It's a 4-point game. Would you rather have our offense or our defense on the field to win the game? Offense, because there's more people on offense that I trust right now. And that's kind of wild to think about, right? Because defense front seven, defense James Pierce, just go make a play, force a bad throw, tip ball, whatever the case is. I trust the system and I trust Josh Heupel, and I think I'm going to trust Nico with everything I got, right? If I'm a fan, I think he's that guy. Plus, offensively, you always, this is simple, this is football 101, but offensively, you always have the advantage. Okay, let's break it down to the bare minimum here. Offensively, you have the advantage because you know the play. And so many times on 4th and inches, so many times on 3rd or 4th and goal, when the field is shrunk, that advantage is key because the receiver, when you're playing press man coverage and everything is so tight, one false step or one jab and getting into your breaks, the receiver's got that advantage, and you need just a step to get open, and that can be the difference. I'll say offense, but it might not be a bad idea to say defense in that regard. If you're watching on YouTube, for some reason, my ring light won't stay on past 30 minutes anymore, and it's been on for quite some time doing some other stuff, so I apologize. Braden, I appreciate you chiming in with your questions. Got a couple more here. We'll go to my bookmark section, and we'll read those off. Jared says, does Christian Moore make it to the majors this year? And if so, will he be the fastest Tennessee Vol to make it to the big leagues in the shortest amount of time? Good question. The one that came to mind was Garrett Crochet, okay? I don't know if anybody's made it quicker than Garrett Crochet, but he's the one that came to mind. But a couple different factors there, okay? That was 2020. He did not play many games at all in 2020. Remember, the season was cut short before conference play. And it was a kind of a funky playoff system that year in Major League Baseball as well. So that was a little funky, but he was drafted in June, and he made his debut in September. That was Garrett Crochet. Do I think Simo makes his Major League debut this year? Easy answer is no. I know he's at a crazy pace right now, but he needs to get a lot of AA at-bats. He'll need to get a lot of AAA at-bats. Somebody asked, I think it was on the GQ last week or earlier this week or whatever, baseball is the only sport where you have to go through development of minor leagues. Not like NBA. I know you got the G League, but NBA, NFL, all that type of stuff. What's the big difference? Well, you're going from facing pitching from an 18-year-old that has a 3-pitch mix to facing a big leaguer that's got a big league starter that can go 7 innings strong of 110 pitches with 5 mix pitch. It's just very, very different. It's all about at-bats, reps, seeing that velocity over the course of the entire season. And some other factors in there as well. My point is, I do not think he will be making his Major League debut this year, even with September call-ups. I hope he does. But he would be the quickest, if so, since Garrett Crochet. Let's go to Michael. How many passing yards you think Nico throws for this year, and who are his top 2 wide receivers in yardage? Can Nico get to 3,000 this year? Can Nico get to 3,100? I meant to pull up Hendon and Joe's passing yards from the last couple of years. I want to say Joe was at like 28 last year, 2,800 something. I want to say Hendon was at like 32 one year. Maybe that's too much, but I'm just trying to think of, or maybe 31. Let's say around 3,000. 29 to 3,000 is where I'll go. And who are his top wide receivers in yardage? Squirrel. And I'll go Chris Brazzell. Squirrel and Chris Brazzell. Ricky wants to know, are we back? Well, feels like we are on the recruiting trail, right? Feels like the expectation is that Tennessee's one of them teams, right? I'd love to see them, win some more games this year and really be knocking on the door of the college football playoff. If Tennessee gets to the college football playoff this year, then it's officially back. I'll say that. But it certainly feels like one of the more respected teams, and it's not felt that way in quite some time. Rob says, can we somehow get the outfield wall pad from Omaha with Hunter Ensley's eye black on it, send it back to Knoxville, and have it hung in Lindsey Nelson Stadium? I feel like it needs to come home. Yeah, I don't know how you get that done. I don't know how much money you'd have to pay, but that'd be a nice little enshrinement to the 2024 team, the first team to ever win a national championship in program history. If you walked on the concourse in the new look, renovated Lindsey Nelson Stadium, and you got a piece of that wall there with the eye black, preserved behind glass, with the plaque saying Hunter Ensley gave his all for Tennessee today. Running into the wall face first. I don't know how it would happen, but I would be for it. Let's go to Aaron. Have you seen or heard since fall practice has started that, who have you seen or heard since fall practice started that excites you, players, position groups, injury updates, whatever that gets you pumped up for the end of the month? Yeah, I'm pumped about the receivers. I'm excited about the opportunity in the back end of the secondary, though there's some questions there. I'm pumped about the tight ends for sure, because I think that tight end group between Ethan Davis, Holden Staes, and Miles Kitselman is going to be good. And I'm excited about the defensive line. I know I kind of was all over the place. There's a lot to be excited about for this football team. And, of course, I didn't even mention Nico. Of course I'm excited about Nico. Nico just looks the part. But I think that the weapons are going to be more than we thought at wide receiver. I think that there's going to be some playmaking ability in the back end, but I'm intrigued to see how it all kind of works out, who goes where. And I'm excited to see Nico for sure. Buddy Matthew Osborne says, start, bench, cut. Zoll, Yeehaw, or Highwire. You start Yeehaw, you bench Zoll. That's become one of my places. And you cut Highwire. Hadn't been there in quite some time, but Yeehaw is a really, really good spot. I've gone to Zoll a couple of times in the last few months. I enjoyed that. Dominated Harry Potter trivia, by the way. Not rocket science trivia. Check it out. And I have not been to Highwire, where I used to host trivia way back when, a couple years ago, in quite some time. So, Yeehaw's the start, Zoll's the bench, Highwire's the cut. Wade says, which player has looked like they have taken a step from last year's to this year's fall camp? Joshua Josephs, Chaz Nimrod, those are two. Jason Jenkins. Christian Harrison, even though I don't know if Christian Harrison will play, he's one that I would mention. And then finally, we'll end on this one. This is from Trey. In your opinion, what has changed at Tennessee over the years as far as recruiting goes? Recruiters, coaches, just being real with the kids. I'm biased because I love Tennessee, but it seems like our coaches, and especially our main three sports, have definitely figured it out well. I think all the coaches in football, baseball, basketball, great talent evaluators, spot talent. I think there's some relentless recruiters on staff in all of those. I think Josh Elander is a great recruiter. Tony Vitello is a great recruiter. I think Halsey's done a great job. I think Alec Ablin's done a good job. Kelsey Pope, Coach Chop, Josh Heupel, I think they've done a good job. I think Barnes and his assistants done a good job. Great at developing relationships, great at recruiting the families, and also, NIL and the fact that Spire's got its crap together is obviously a factor. But at the end of the day, winning. These teams win, and they have opportunities to go win championships. And that speaks more. Winning, development to get to the next league, and then NIL. Those three things are what kids want in a college experience right now. And Tennessee does it as good, if not better, than anybody in the country right now across the board. That is going to do it here for this edition of Locked On Vols. Can't thank you enough for making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. We had a loaded show today talking about Carson Sneed, 10-2, 8-4, which is more likely. coaches poll. We took your mailbag questions, you everydayers. Thank you so much for that. Fun show. Let's have a fun Wednesday tomorrow. Let's have a fun rest of your Tuesday, and we'll be back Locked On Vols stronger than ever. Until then, enjoy it, guys. This is Locked On Vols.